When I was filing my taxes 2 years ago, I was shocked at the amount of money I had spent on software. I needed a way to get visibility into what was leading to profit from my agency, where there was waste, and what software I was underutilizing. I felt like I was bleeding out from 1,000 cuts with all those subscriptions, and I needed visibility and insight into my software subscriptions, and Airtable was the perfect tool. Let's create an Airtable base to do exactly this. To create a new base in Airtable, click the Add a Base, and you can either start from scratch or import data, but today we're going to start from scratch, and we'll name this Software Tracker. You can give it a color and an icon. I'll choose teal here and the $sign. Each new base is going to come with these 4 default fields. I actually just delete these other 3 right away. And then we'll rename this first column, which is called the identifier, to what we're actually tracking. So we're going to call this software. When creating a new table, we need to be clear on what fields need to be tracked. So all the software we're going to be tracking here has some kind of a cost. For that, we're going to use the currency field down to the hundredths. Works just fine for me. So let's create this field. And then that cost is either going to be on an annual or yearly basis. So let's create a new single select box with the options annual and monthly. I would also want to know how am I paying for this? So payment method, and I would probably do a single select for this as well. Perhaps it's on my business Amex or PayPal. And then one thing for me is I always want to know what is the category of the software. I also want to make a note of what it actually does. And I'll use that as a long text just in case I want to put a lot of information in there. And then maybe I'll track what specific clients I'm using it for. So for example, if I have a certain plugin and it's only used on a certain client, I will put that as a single line text. Now, you could have another table here for clients and link this off to the client's table, but we're not going to get into that much detail. And then another thing I want to use for my software is this leading directly to revenue for my company. And I'll just make this a simple checkbox, yes or no. And I'll also want to know, is this software helping me generate leads? Now let's fill out a record. And what you can do is just start typing in these boxes, or you can expand out the record and enter it in this way. So let's add in a piece of software. It's QuickBooks. It costs this much a month. I pay it with the Amex. It's accounting and it takes care of my payroll, bookkeeping, and taxes. It isn't tied to any particular clients and it doesn't generate revenue or leads. All right, let me fill in some more examples. Now that we have our data in here, I can see there's some more information that we need to store. For example, we don't know what the login URL is for each of these pieces of software. Let's add that as a new field to the left of costs. We're going to call this URL. It's going to be a URL field. And now we'll add the data. And one thing you might be noticing is that I'm just using fake information here to protect the innocent. One thing I'm missing here is the ability to archive certain software. So say I decide that I want to stop using BubbleTube. There's no way for me to indicate I've stopped using this. Let's add a new field here to the left. It's going to be a checkbox. And it's going to be called current expense. I'm going to put that as a question mark because it is a question. Is this a current expense? What it's going to allow us to do is to create a view that shows just the current expenses and then just the ones we've turned off. So let's do that now. I'm going to duplicate this view and I'm going to call it not active. And I'm going to make it so that the filter on this view is only showing where the current expense is not checked. And then here in our main view, which I'm going to rename to current software, I'll create a filter on this one. I'm going to change it where the current expense is checked. This allows us to then, for all these pieces of software, if we decide to turn off JLU, we can uncheck it. It removes it from this view and then puts it into the not active view. And if we decide to turn this software back on, we can check it and then it goes into the current software view. So let me actually turn off a couple of these. Just say we're cutting some costs for the quarter and we've turned off those pieces of software. One thing I'm noticing too is this table just says table 1, so I'm going to rename that to software. And let's also take a look at the categories for our software. So if I group this, we can see that I only have one accounting piece of software and I have 3 that's used to manage my care plan. So my monthly cost is $166 to manage my care plan services. And again, this is all just fake data for the purpose of showing you this information. You'd be filling out your exact software that's underneath it so you can analyze what software is worth it for the particular services that you offer. Now, there's also a different kind of software called lifetime deals, and I like to store a little bit of different information about that. So I'm actually going to clone this entire table, duplicate the records to make my life a little bit easier, rename it to LTDs, and then there's a couple of fields I no longer need. For example, payment frequency, that doesn't matter because it's a lifetime deal. Same thing with payment method. I'll keep the cost. I'm just curious what I paid for the LTD. And then actually I can change this current expense to be in use. So I can mark, am I using this software right now? I created an LTD spreadsheet 2 years ago because I really wanted to maximize my use of these deals. I was finding that really I would purchase the deal and half the time I wouldn't even use it. So let me show you another column that I would put here. So I'm going to create a column here, want to use in 2021. This is a checkbox. And this could be where it's a piece of software where I do want to use it in 2021. Maybe I wasn't using it, I purchased it and just kind of forgot about it. There's a couple things we need to do here to actually clean this up for the LTDs. This has a filter right now where in use is check. I'm actually going to take that off. I'm going to rename this to be all LTDs. And I'm going to delete the view of annual payments because that's no longer applicable. The not active view works just fine. I'm going to delete the calendar view, and I'm going to create a new view here for all the ones that I do want to use in 2021. As usual, I'll just duplicate this view and then name it appropriately and then create a simple filter. One thing I'd also want to track about an LTD is the number of licenses. Sometimes I will do more than one license for an LTD. And I could put this as a number, but I'm actually going to put it as a single line text because sometimes there'll be more details I'll want to put than just a number. So say I'd purchased 2 accounts with a 15,000 image limit. Say it was an image compression LTD. There's definitely some other fields you could add to this LTD template and to the software. And as I mentioned before, Airtable allows you to customize these templates. You really need to be creating these for your specific business.